What is up everyone, my name is Jasper and in this video I wanted to talk about how passive blogging actually is. Blogging is often advertised as being one of the most passive sources of income when it comes to making money online. But after a little over 2.5 years of experience, I have noticed that it isn't really that passive at all. At least you can make it very passive, but if you really want to earn big bucks with blogging and making websites, then it really isn't as passive as many people lead you to believe. Now, nothing will ever be truly passive. I believe, in my personal opinion, dividend income is one of the most passive forms of income, but nothing will ever be truly passive. And there's always some sort of work you need to do up front. And with dividend income, it's buying the dividend stock. But with building websites, it's building a complete website that gets traffic. And building a complete website can take a lot of time. Now, this time will be mostly spent in the beginning, and that is setting up the site and doing your search analysis, finding those topics to write about. But mostly you'll be spending your time writing content. This is basically the 80% of our business, and writing content not only is the most important part, but it's also the most time-consuming part. So as I mentioned, the key components to building a successful website is doing good search analysis, finding those cracks, those underserved keywords, those topics that get search volume but aren't as competitive. And then the next and most important part is actually writing that content. And writing the content can take a lot of time. On average, I see myself writing an article in about 3 hours. And in 3 hours, I can write an article anywhere between 1 to maybe 3,000 words. Now, 3 hours per article might not seem like that much, but considering you need to write at least 100 or more articles, it all adds up. And then eventually, at least for my personal case, any website should have at least 100 articles. So that's already 300 hours of work. So that kind of just throws the whole passive income idea out of the window. But as I mentioned, the beginning is the most front-loaded part. The most work will be done in the beginning. And after that, after you've got your foundation set up, you can really make it a lot more passive. If you've got 100 articles on there and you're just looking to make a little bit of residual income, then those 100 articles, you can just let them sit there, let them do its thing, and meanwhile, it will just make you some money. Now, if you decide to not ever work on it again, of course your rankings will decrease and over time you will lose your income. But for a few years, maybe 1, 2 or 3 years, you will have a very nice and passive source of income. So the way I see it is that there are 3 stages. And the first one is that you build a website simply because it makes you some extra money. You're not looking to make this your full-time income. You're not looking to become a millionaire out of this. You're just looking to make a few hundred, maybe even $1,000 extra every single month. And the second stage is where you're trying to replace your full-time income with your blogging income. And the third stage is where I'm currently shooting for, and that is to just hit it out of the park with content production. Push this as far as you can possibly push it and build it out as large as it can possibly be. Now, of course, the time commitment is different for all 3, so let's go over those. So firstly, there is just the people that are looking for some extra residual income every month. And this can range anywhere from $100 a month to maybe even $1,000 a month. Now, this is definitely possible. Building a website to make $1,000 a month is difficult, but it's definitely possible. And these websites that generate $100 to $1,000 a month, they are generally not the largest 500 plus article websites. So if you're doing the work up front and you build a website out to maybe 100 articles, then you do really have the decision to just leave it at that and let it sit and let it do its thing. 100 articles is a lot and it's enough to gain authority, and if you've done the search analysis right, you can get a lot of traffic with this. But like any website, this website also needs to be maintained. You need to update your plugins, your themes, you need to update WordPress itself. You maybe even want to add new content, new and refreshing content, or you want to update old articles. All of these things are vital to a website staying in good shape. And if you decide to leave it as passive as it can be, so you're not touching any of these things, you run the risk of losing your rankings. Google always likes it if your site shows signs of life, that the site is alive and it's moving. And if you just build your website and never touch it again, only to just collect the money, then Google doesn't really like that, and over time you will gradually lose your rankings. And on top of that, there will also be competitors. New websites are produced every second on Google, and a lot of websites that are produced will be in your niche. And once these sites are reaching the 100 article point and they're growing as large as you might not see an immediate effect. But as these websites do continue to grow and expand, eventually they will just outrank you, leading to another loss in traffic. So those are some downsides to not updating your site. But I truly do believe that building a website to a point that you're satisfied with it and just letting it sit is very profitable. It won't be a 5-year asset, but it could be a great income producing asset for 1, 2, or maybe even 3 years. Now, if I had to make a guess, I think you can pull off such a website with maybe even only a few hours every single month, just updating some things, just tweaking a few small things, and a few hours a month. I mean, what are we talking about? It's nothing if it earns you $1,000 a month. Still though, this is an approach I would not recommend, at least for me personally. I like to expand things. If this is you're just looking for a few extra $100 a month, this might be the best approach for you. But most people, when they see the money coming in, they want to expand. And there's also the point that once you're making, say, $1,000 extra every month, you're kind of relying on this income. Maybe you're upgrading your lifestyle a bit. And once you're starting to rely on this income, there really is no escaping it, that you need to put it in some time at least. So anything that starts to produce good income eventually will become a priority. It's as simple as that. And when that happens, there will be a lot more time invested. And naturally, when you're investing a lot more time, things start to grow. So maybe you're at the point where you're replacing your full-time income with this blogging income. And that's the second stage I was talking about. This is the stage that most people want to be in. It's the stage where blogging is basically your business. It's your income, it's your job. Now, just like your regular job, I always recommend, if you're switching over from your standard 9 to 5 to blogging full time, I don't think you should work any less. It's a bit difficult because being your own boss, you can kind of excuse yourself, even though that's not really what you should do. It makes it a lot easier, and I'm definitely guilty of excusing myself for a few hours or maybe even a few days every now and then. But generally, I would recommend to just work your 9 to 5 hours. You'll just be able to keep your focus and move things more quickly. But why do you need to work so many hours for a website that could also be done in a lot less hours? Well, that's because you're trying to make this your full-time income. And once 3,000 is your full-time income, 6,000 would also be your full-time income. So you can just scale this up to however much you want. But even $3,000 a month websites, they need a lot of maintenance and they need to be updated with new articles. There just needs to be signs of life, and you can't really do that if you're not putting in the time. And putting in the time can mean many things. Some people like to write their own content all the way through. And people like me, for example, I like to hire the writers to write a majority of the content for me. But hiring these writers takes time, managing these writers takes time, and finding topics for these writers to write about takes time. So overall, it's not really that passive anymore. Still, I do think that it's a much more fun alternative to working a standard job. And you're actually in charge, so you can take it any direction you want to. Maybe you want to take 2 weeks off. If you're your own boss, you can say, let's do that, and we'll pick it up after those 2 weeks. But the main point here is that it's only really passive if you want to make it passive. So if you're looking to make it as large as possible and looking to expand, then don't be stuck up on the idea that this should be passive income, because it simply won't be. Now, lastly, there is the stage where you're really making this into a large business. You're trying to expand as much as possible. And that's the stage I'm currently transitioning towards. I'm really trying to make this as huge as it can possibly be. I just want to make the most out of this. And I can honestly say that this is not at all passive income. It's the exact opposite. It's taking a lot of time. And it really isn't a weird day when I'm working 10 hours a day. I'm constantly in the works of updating my hit list, making sure that there's articles to write about. I'm constantly thinking about new niches. What new websites can I start? What are some cool or maybe underserved niches that I can tap into? And I'm always thinking about, maybe I need to switch over to a new affiliate program. Maybe I should try out a new ad program. Should I switch from AdThrive back to Mediavine? Is Izoke Premium worth it? I was recently invited to Izoke Premium. Is it worth it? There's constant things that need to be handled, and since you're the business owner, they need to be handled by you. On top of that, I also need to make sure that my writers are busy, and I'm always looking for new writing agencies to see if they have great content for great prices. There's always something that needs to happen. So you can basically take all the jobs you would have at your second stage or the full-time stage and just 10x those, because that's what's necessary at this point. Now for me, I'm currently in the beginning stages, so I'm not nearly as busy as some of the other people, or at least I'm not producing nearly as much content as some of the other people that are much larger than me. But maybe even because I have a smaller team, I need to put in more hours right now to make up for that, to grow as quickly as possible. It's just a lot of time. Now, I'm not saying this for you to feel bad for me. I'm actually really enjoying this, but I don't expect anyone to enjoy it as much as I do. Some people really value some free time, so this approach really won't be for them, but that's fine. If you're not looking to make it as large and tap into the full potential as willingly as I am, there's nothing wrong with building a small website, letting it sit, and just treating it as passive income. Now, I do have to say that once a website is set up, say a very small niche, and you're building out a hit list and you see that, well, after 100 articles or maybe 150 articles, this niche is basically done. Well, at that point, once your website is, so to speak, finished, then it is actually truly passive income, because you can just let the site sit. Now, of course, for me, I see some things that need to be happening. Of course, you need to update your plugins, but you also need to rewrite old content, or at least improve them, because competitors can come in, swoop your rankings, and you lose your traffic. So even though a website is finished and complete, there's still some things to do. But in my opinion, those are a very small price to pay when you're looking at the reward. So how passive blogging will be is it basically comes down to you. Do you want to make a few extra $100 every month? Or do you just want to tap into the full potential, try to become as large as you can possibly be with this? It's really up to you, and there's no right or wrong answer here. It's just what you prefer more. And yeah, nobody knows that answer except you. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider leaving a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.